Afternoon. I call this work session to order. We have the appointment of full-time police officer. Anybody knows about that? And are we going to have the one I asked you for?
Yeah, it's in their packet. That's what I ran downstairs. There's an RFQ in your packet. It didn't make the agenda because, one, you guys haven't seen this yet, so you haven't reviewed it, and two, it came in at the last minute here. So you I do have a resolution if you do decide you want to go ahead and do that. I do have the resolution here.
But it should be said that you reviewed it and then reviewed it as well. It's about the Ted Saran's project, a request for qualification. If you remember, we discussed it a bit. This is just the technical portion of it. You reviewed it, correct?
Yes, we
yes,
did
you
review
have
the
reviewed
article.
it. Thank you. And we're running against the deadline, so
You were good, Dan, you were good with everything in this then?
Yes, Jim, it was.
Thank you.
Not a problem.
So if you're okay with that, I would like to pass it tonight. They would like to have everything by Wednesday, and there's no...
I don't know anything about
You do. Ted Sharon came here,
it.
and this is a request for qualifications, which is they're trying to hire a person, they requested to hire a person to administer their grant.
Okay.
Which is going to be paid by the grant, but it has to go through the village. You have to approve it. That's the.
Yeah, I mean, again, this was stuff that was done prior to my administration, so I haven't had a chance to really look at this or read this.
All these things here, we have not seen before today, so you're not the only one. I mean, I understand where Roger's coming. I mean, there's no time to review
Just
this at all.
10 minutes ago.
When's the deadline for this?
Wednesday. They would like to have it by Wednesday. Well, you know, we have a lot of things going on in this village hall, and we do it as quickly as we can.
We have to do our
This
due
was-
diligence, though, and there's no due diligence here. If there's something that we're missing, I mean,
Well,
who might-
Dan and Rick have reviewed it, so I trust them. This is not something that the village has to do. It's up to you. I won't even discuss it further. If you don't feel comfortable, I will leave it. It's not. If you think you need to read it, that's by all means is your right.
Okay.
I received it 5 minutes ago.
I've sped read it. I'm prepared to approve it.
Okay, thank you.
Rick, could I ask you reviewed it, and did you have any issues or
Yeah, I
questions?
made my changes. Nate made, and then I sent them
Right.
to Nate.
So this reflects your
But
changes?
it's up to this board to actually do
The approval,
the,
yeah.
Right.
the approval. It's
Right.
not up to me. All
No, I
do
realize
is
this, but-
look at that and look at the language and change things that I can see.
And you did so according to Dan, and Dan reviewed your changes too.
Right, and Jim, a lot of the changes were just the dates, because we had run past when we wanted to adopt it or when we thought we were going to adopt it, and so we had to change the start dates, things like that. That was a lot of the changes. But we did look at the RFQ. The grant agreement, we just got that we just got today. I'll be reviewing that tonight, and I'll have comments on that tomorrow. But as far as the RFQ, my feeling and Rick's and talking with Nate, it's good to go. And that's one thing we really need to do sooner rather than later. And again, I don't want to rush the board, but this is a time is of the essence type thing, and the mayor is right. There's a ton of things going on with these projects, and we don't want to be in risk of losing our funding.
There are some changes that the state, Patricia, that the state
Yes, it
has
is.
recommended that aren't in the copy that I gave you because they were still being worked on as we were getting ready for this board meeting. And I didn't get the final copy back from Nate, so.
Yes, he says he's going to,
He was gonna try
and
to
I don't
get it
know
to me
what they
before
are.
the meeting, yeah, so, I mean, if, up to the board.
Do we know what kind of changes we're talking about?
Well, specifically, it was like the original changes that Rick and I made to the original copy in terms of dates and things.
Okay.
It was Patty's agreement, or Patty's understanding, or Patty's suggestion that we should tighten up the timelines for not only the selection of the person, the board's time to review, that stuff, just because we're running out of time on this
Okay.
project. So it was mostly timeline issues.
Okay.
So that's.
Mayor, I have one thing under old business here, if I could address the board. Last meeting, we passed a resolution for the appointment of Phyllis Jones to the zoning board.
I'm sorry.
Do we need to have more discussion about this, I guess, before we move on to other things? I'm just,
Oh, do you,
I don't know.
He was moving on to something else. Are we going to have?
right, yeah, I think you should say whether or not you want to bring that to
Yeah.
the table or not, I guess, so. you
I'm
know.
okay to bring it to the table.
I am as well.
And Michael?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll add that to the agenda for tonight.
Thank you.
Okay, if we're through with that, I would like to address the board, the appointment of Phyllis Jones to the zoning board. Now, I'm disappointed in the way this was handled because the person that Phyllis is replacing is Linda Malcolm. And Linda Malcolm has been on the board for a long number of years. She's a well-respected person. She was not
Okay,
asked,
I need
Mayor, I'm not
to-
done yet.
Well, but you name employees of the village, and this is not proper. This has been handled. You should come and ask me first before you go openly to actually discuss things like that.
Well, Mayor, nothing was discussed with Mrs. Malcolm. She was
Yes,
never asked.
Mrs. Malcolm's term was up in
It was up, but she
January.
was never asked if she wanted to continue.
She never asked to continue. She never expressed the slightest interest. Okay, I do regret the fact that before we did that we approved Phyllis Jones, what happened was I talked with Chuck, I spoke with Chuck, and we agreed that we're going to offer Mrs. Malcolm the possibility to remain as an alternate, because we have an opening as an alternate. I regret that she didn't receive that letter, but as I said, everybody in this office works really hard. This was the reason. I regret that. I apologize for that. But instead of talking about it in the open meeting, that should be handled before.
We appointed her in the open meeting, and I regret that I
Yes,
didn't do
but-
more diligence and ask more questions at the time if Mrs. Malcolm was interested in that, and if you
Usually,
asked
people who
her
want to
that.
remain in the board, you don't know that because you're not part of this kind of thing. Usually, people come and they bring a letter to say that they're interested in remaining on the board. That was 2 months afterwards.
Okay,
That
I
was
think
it.
it would have been proper courtesy to have even asked her. That's what I believe. You can choose to believe whichever way it should have been handled. I believe the common courtesy would have been to ask her if she was willing to continue on as our chairperson.
Ms. Resek, as I said, up to here in work, I did not think through it. I thought she was going to receive a letter from before. It was not, the letter was not received. I apologize for that. I regret that.
Well, this board,
that was-
we
that was
made
it.
a decision without asking the proper questions
This
here, and I
discussion,
regret that.
Needs to be in an executive session.
Yes, it would have.
How would,
But now
why
it's-
would this be an executive
Because
session,
we're
Michael?
mentioning names of personnel. So
But that's the point,
We
naming
approved this at
naming
last
names,
meeting. Why would
so
this be executive
names out
session?
there, now they think that some of the people on this board are more, let's say, think about people before they do it. That's not true.
Okay.
If I wanted Mrs. Malcolm out, that would have been done before. I waited until the end of the term. I waited another month and a half before
We
I
want to
did
discuss this in
anything.
executive session, like Mr. Trustee Veras said. I didn't realize this was executive session material.
Yes, you
so-
did. I told you, I asked you not to discuss it here. You wanted to discuss it. Obviously, you want the people to
You
know.
didn't ask me not to discuss it here, Mayor.
Didn't
so-
Can
When?
I ask to be in an executive session? First sentence out of my mouth?
Yes, you did. I think so.
That's the first thing he said.
So,
Well, then I guess I apologize, and we'll be discussing this in executive
Sure.
session.
Okay. Trustee Christina.
I hereby make a motion to enter into executive session to discuss matters leading to the appointment, employment, dismissal, or removal of a particular person.
I second.
Trustee Barris.
Aye.
Trustee Christina.
Yes.
Trustee Linden.
Aye.
Trustee Bridge.
Yes.
Trustee Essex.
Yes.
The flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I call this special meeting to order. At a special meeting of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Fredonia duly called and held on the 5th day of March 2018 at 4 p.m. in the Trustees' Room, second floor, Village Hall, Fredonia, New York, and public notice of the time and place of this meeting has been given to the news media and conspicuously posted in one or more designated public locations in accordance with Section 104 of the Open Meetings Law.
Whereas notice of this meeting was given to the Board of Trustees and the news media as required by law, now therefore be it resolved that a special meeting of this Board of Trustees be held at this time and place to consider any business that may come before the Board.
I second.
Excuse me. Trustee Barris.
Aye.
Excuse me. Trustee Christina.
Yes.
Trustee Linden.
Aye.
Trustee Bridge.
Yes.
Trustee Essex.
Yes.
There are no reports or correspondence tonight.
Public portion.
Well, the public portion is open and closed. Thank you.
Be it resolved that Jacob Berger of 20 Lakeview Avenue, Fredonia, New York, is hereby appointed to the position of full-time police officer with the Village of Fredonia Police Department at an hourly rate of $23.92, subject to civil service rules and regulations and subject to a probationary period of 78 weeks. This appointment shall be effective March 6, 2018.
I second the motion, and I vote aye.
Trustee Christina.
Yes.
Trustee Linden.
Aye.
Trustee Bridge.
Yes.
Trustee Essex.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, motion.
Do the resignation.
The resignation.
The village has received resignations from two firefighter candidates, Seth Leshadone and Todd Sumner. We need a resolution to accept their resignations at this time.
Motion to move on that?
I second the motion.
Thank you. Trustee
I
Barris.
vote aye.
Trustee Christina.
Yes.
Trustee Linden.
Aye.
Trustee Bridge.
Yes.
Trustee Essex.
Yes.
Okay. And who's reading these resolutions?
Be it resolved that upon recommendation of the Village of Fredonia Personnel Committee, Nathan Osborne, 3124 Lake Heights Drive, Hamburg, New York, is hereby hired as full-time provisional temporary contingent cadet firefighter in the fire department at $17.61 per hour, effective March 12, 2018, subject to a probationary period of 18 months and subject to all civil service rules and regulations.
I second that motion.
Trustee Barris.
Aye.
Trustee Christina.
Yes.
Trustee Linden.
Aye.
Trustee Bridge.
Yes.
Trustee Essex.
Yes.
And
Be it resolved that upon recommendation of the Village of Fredonia Personnel Committee, Timothy Shapaniak, P.O. Box 92, Lakeview, New York, is hereby hired as full-time provisional temporary contingent firefighter in the fire department at $18.52 per hour, effective March 19, 2018, subject to a probationary period of 18 months and subject to all civil service rules and regulations.
I second that motion.
Trustee Barris.
Aye.
Trustee Christina.
Yes.
Trustee Linden.
Aye.
Trustee Bridge.
Yes.
Trustee Essex.
Yes.
Are we doing this one or no?
Which one is that? Oh, yeah. Wait a minute. Who's doing that one?
So, Are we doing the other one, or what are we doing now?
Are we gonna do this one?
Oh, yes, we didn't put names to that, so you wanna go ahead?
Sure.
What is
Oh,
it?
you are doing them, right? Yeah.
I thought we.
What is it? I don't
This is
know.
the
I lost it. Yeah, that's what I,
RFQ.
yeah, I lost it. I can't find it. Never mind.
Okay.
Yeah, I found it.
You want a second?
You want to
Sorry?
second it?
You want a second read?
I'll second.
Okay.
Thank you.
Whereas the Village of Fredonia was awarded funding in the amount of $450,000 through New York Homes and Community Renewal's New York Main Street program to assist Ted Sharon with renovations at 50 West Main Street in the Village. And whereas this project requires a grant administrator to facilitate the requirements of the funding award, and whereas funding for the administrator has been budgeted as part of the overall project and expenses incurred by the village related to administration will be reimbursed through the grant and/or Ted Sharon. Now therefore be it resolved that village solicit a request for qualifications for qualified firms and individuals for grant administration services.
I second the motion, and I vote aye.
Thank you. Trustee Christina.
Yes.
Trustee Linden.
Aye.
Trustee Briggs.
Yes.
Trustee Essek.
Yes.
Thank you. So I think that's it, right?
Nope, I'd like to make a motion. Our last meeting, we passed a resolution to appoint a person to our zoning board. I'd like to rescind that
I forgot
motion,
about
resolution that we did last meeting. I don't feel it was properly handled, and I'd like to rescind that.
Who seconds it?
I'll second that.
Trustee Barris.
No.
Trustee Christina.
Yes, for a variety of different reasons. I just feel like it's the right thing to do.
Trustee Linden.
No.
Trustee Briggs.
Yes.
Trustee Essek.
Yes.
Now we lost Jones. I'm sorry about that. I really am. Well, I really am sorry. Anyways, somebody should call for adjournment.
I move to adjourn.
Who seconds it?
I'll second that.
Trustee Barris. Trustee Christina.
Yes.
Trustee Linden.
Aye.
Trustee Briggs.
Yes.
Trustee Essek.
Yes.